Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to once again welcome you to NewsBand Television on this timely interview. I hope it's live now. The topic of our interview tonight, is the Chicago Papers and Tinubu's forged certificate options before the Supreme Court. Some people will argue that we shouldn't be discussing this, otherwise it will be sub judice. But my answer will be, nothing stops you from giving an opinion on a matter before the court. The only thing, it doesn't amount to contempt of court. It doesn't mean a violation of the law on sub judice, but we have lawyers here who may like to speak about that as this conversation progresses. So I'm not sure there is anyone here who is not aware of the topic of the moment in Nigeria. The expose on Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's alleged academic records. I say alleged, decided, informedly, because of all the controversy surrounding it. And I'm not here to give an opinion. I'm only here to get the news from those who should know. So one of them we have here today is a lawyer, Barrister Eze Eluchie. I'm seeing Chimere Eze here, but Chimere Eze Eluchie, that's fine. So Barrister Eluchie, you are welcome to this interview.
Yeah, thank you very much. But just Eze, Chimere Eze is my son's name.
Oh, okay. So it's Barrister Eze Eluchie then. Right. So can you give us a little background to this issue and what bearing it may have on the election cases currently going on through the Nigerian judiciary? You have the floor. Mr. Eluchie. Has Nigeria happened to you? I think he lost his network.
Because Nigeria retrogresses by the day.
Terrible.
It has no fatalism.
It's difficult. All right. If Barrister Eluchie is not is having network issues, Mr. Uche Martins, Mr. Martins, I don't know which one you prefer. You have an experience with regards to renewing your certificate in the United States. Can you enlighten us on the process it took you to obtain your certificate so that we will use it to situate the discoveries and the deposition that happened, that we obtained from the Chicago State University?
Okay. My name is Egbe Martins, and I currently reside in the United States, in Texas. About 7 years ago, I needed to get a new copy of my certificate, but for some reason, on my second missionary journey back to America, I forgot the original in Nigeria. So the process was, I called up my school's registry, the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and asked them that I wanted a copy of my certificate. And they gave me two options. You can go to the website and fill out the form, upload your driver's license, upload your social security card, and any other identification that you think, and your transcript if you have one. The second option is, and if you do that, they'll process it and send it by regular mail. But I needed it very urgently. That was when the second option came in place. I can download the form, fill out the form, take it to a notary public to notarize that I'm the one signing the paper with my driver's license and my social security number. After the notarization, I should attach a photocopy of my social security card and my driver's license and a copy of my transcript if I had one. And then I'll get a FedEx Express card envelope paid for, attached with all these things. So as soon as they get it, they process it and then use my Express envelope to send it back to me, which took about a week and a half. But the first option would have taken maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks to get to me. So that is how the process is. You do not go to a third party in America to get a certificate. It's impossible. Unless the school just prints their own from their printer and gives it to you. And most of such universities are one-room universities. They are not accredited universities. So that is the way it is.
So let's get this straight from you. The assertion that that certificates in the United States is a mere ceremonial document, and therefore you can go to a roadside vendor or to a third party to get your university certificate is a fallacy. It's fallacious.
It is totally false. Totally false. You can never do that. And if you go to a third party, first of all, how do you go to a third party? The university has to accredit you, first of all. The university may not be the one printing the certificate, but they have to accredit you, first of all, say, yes. You don't go directly to the third party or the corporation that is going to print the certificate. The transaction is between the university and that body that prints the certificate, and they send it to the university, and then the university sends it to you. So you have no direct contact to the printer of those certificates.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Barrister Zeluchi now.
Also, let me add one more thing before you go. I'm Emeka. I live in Los Angeles too, and I went to school here. All your information is kept it's digitized these days, but formerly they keep it in something they call microfiche. So it's preserved for like 100 years or whatever. So whenever you need that copy, it's still there in the school. There's nothing like this third-party crap. That's nonsense. That's APC propaganda. If you have such a school, then it's not even accredited school. So the process Martin went through is exactly, I've done the thing, a few times with myself. And all your information is kept in the school record. They have the microfiche they used to use, but these days they can, digitize it. So that's it. It's simple. Every school has it.
Daddy, my name is IG Wene. Let's leave even these APC people out of it. The registrar of this Chicago State University, either he was dodgy or he was compromised, did say, if I listened to him or if I read him well, that he could get this thing from this third party we are talking about. He even distanced himself from the Richard Daly College result we are seeing bearing a female. Either he was compromised or he has been schooled on what to say. And you notice that he was dodgy. So I don't know what you two have spoken now said did clearly indicate that what he said is at variance with what obtains, if I got you right. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. So let's go back to Barrister Zeluchi and let's hear from him, and then we can come back to the conversation about the facts of the issue. So, Mr. Lucio, is now back to you. What is your take on, first, the Chicago State University's discovery, second, the depositions by some of the university officials, and then the propaganda we are now, well, let me not judge, the information that we are getting from Tinubu's camp regarding the Chicago State University deposition itself. Mr. Lucci, over to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. Let me touch a bit on the issue of third party, which the registrar of the university mentioned. I don't think there was anything wrong with what he said. What he's meant by third party, because there are should only be two parties in the issue of release of certificates: the university you attended and the individual who is collecting. So he used the word third party to mean an unknown entity, perhaps even a criminal outlet. In fact, he used the word that you can print it online. So he was not insinuating in any way that it is a normal process. He was saying a third party because he doesn't know who it is. He just said, okay, a third party. In a business, in a transaction where there should only be two parties. That is what happens when you go to any university anywhere in the world. The degrees is between the institution that you trained from and the individual collecting. So his use of the word third party was very technical and very legal. He doesn't know who it is. So he said a third party agent. You can go and print whatever. And he was being cautious because I don't think he was trying to play games, because he knew when you make a deposition in the United States, what you are facing is jail time if you lie. So he used words that will ensure that nothing is wrong with him. Nothing goes wrong with him. It's a two-party affair between the university and the collecting agent, the student. So that word, third party, is an unknown entity, which actually means a criminal agency in this instance. So that is my take on that. I also happen to have schooled in the States, in Georgetown University. So I have a rough idea of this. Let us not lampoon them. They did their best. They know what they are avoiding. Because if you look at the whole sequence, the fact that they took so long for the university to even come out with facts that should have been very ordinary shows that there was efforts by the man who bears the name Bola Tinubu to try to ensure that these things don't get leaked out, don't come out. But with that order from a court for depositions to be filed, Chicago State University had no choice than to come up with something that was truthful and that will spare them jail time. So that is my take on that. Back to the question Dan posed. It's quite good that we're passing through this process in Nigeria. And I think one thing that is coming out of this, which the whole world will see or will view, is that in Nigeria, there is a mass, that the people are out to distance themselves from fraud, criminality, illegality, forgery, and 419. Because if we were what the world perceives of Nigerians, that this is a country that is neck deep in fraud, neck deep in forgeries and stuff, there would have been no issues. We would have said, okay, this is us. But the whole euphoria that has risen around this issue, the euphoria is that Nigerians are saying, this is not who we are. We are a good people, we are hardworking, we have labored hard, we have people all over this world, in America, in Britain, who work hard, who study hard. And when they get a degree, they know it is a degree that was earned out of hard labor. So the revulsion at what is coming out from Chicago State University is a plus to Nigerians, because we have shown the world that we are not fraudsters. That when we see a fraudster, we rail against the fraudster. When we see a forgery, the whole country is mobilized against the forgery, even if it is the person who is occupying the highest office in the land. So at the end of this, the world is seeing our efforts. Now, it shifts the onus to the Supreme Court, because the Chicago State University has reeled out facts. And from the facts, the depositions it reeled out, there are basics which have emanated. Number one is that the person who bears the name Bola Tinubu and is sitting in Aso Rock as Nigeria's president claims to have attended a school that was not existing when he claimed he attended the school. That is the Government College, Lagos. From the records Mr. Tinubu has with Chicago State University, he attended that school in 1970. He left in 1970. The Government College, Lagos was not established till 1974. That is one fact. So obviously, the documents presented by Mr. Tinubu to get into Chicago State University is falsehood. The second issue is this. The high school, the Bola Tinubu female attended, has a social security number which belongs to a female and not to the person who is occupying the seat in Nigeria as the president. And you know, in the United States, Social Security number is like your fingerprints. It will actually tell who is. You can formulate several other things, but not the Social Security number. So the person who got into Chicago State University from the forms available is a female, Bola A. Tinubu. The third issue that came out from this whole process is that, yes, a Bola A. Tinubu graduated from Chicago State University. No doubt about it. The school said, yes, he passed through our system. He had some courses. Nobody's doubting that. So we agree now that a Bola A. Tinubu attended. But who is that Bola A. Tinubu? Was it the female that came in or the male that graduated? And the most critical of all that emanated from that process was the issue of the certificate that the person occupying the office, the presidential office in Nigeria, presented to INEC. That is the diploma or certificate he got from Chicago State University. On the lawyers in that deposition were very meticulous. They brought a copy of what was submitted to INEC, and they began with the seal that was on that certificate. Asked the Chicago State University Registrar whether he was aware, whether that seal belonged to their school, and they answered in the negative. Asked about the signatures and some of the other notations on the certificate, and they answered that no, that was not the Chicago State University diploma, which essentially and basically means that the document the Mr. Bola Tinubu, who is sitting in Aso Rock as the president, submitted to INEC was not a document that emanated from Chicago State University. In essence, it is a forgery. Now, this basics is, it suffices. It was all that was required. So we actually appreciate the efforts of the People Democratic Party and Elijah Particular Abubakar who took the extra step, because this rumor has been whiling away in Nigeria for over 2 decades. Is this man who he says he is? Did he actually go to this school? Was it Chicago State University or University of Chicago? But from this effort, from this deposition, all doubts have been cleared. Now, if you look at these 4 issues I mentioned, the fact that the Government College Lagos was non-existent when Mr. Bola Tinubu claimed to be attended, the fact that there was a high school that was attended by the person who came into Chicago State University, and the person who came in was female, and the fact that, yes, Bola Tinubu graduated, and the final clincher, that a forged document was submitted to INEC. Now, which is the most, for legal purposes, which one is the most critical? The Nigerian Constitution clearly states, without equivocation, in very, very simple language, that anybody who submits a forged document to Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is not qualified to contest for presidency, should be disqualified. In very clear terms, there is no ambiguity. It just says it in clear words. Section 137, subsection 1, paragraph J, that anybody who submits a forged document to INEC is not qualified for election, to be a candidate for election. Now, that is the unfortunate situation that Mr. Bola Tinubu finds himself. And then he's not qualified. So some of us have repeatedly called him a placeholder president because he was declared as the president-elect unconstitutionally by Mahmoud Yakubu, the INEC chairman. Good enough for everybody. In the course of the past 1 week, the Nigerian Chief Justice, Ariwola, came out and categorically stated that the Nigerian courts are not swayed by public opinion, rather by the wordings and realities of our laws. And the ground norm of our laws, the fundamental of our laws is the Nigerian Constitution, which has clearly stated, like I said, in section 137, subsection 1, paragraph J, that if you have submitted a fake or forged document to INEC, you are not qualified for elections. So by his own words, the Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, Ariwola, has told Nigerians the judgment of this case, because the issues are very clear. Is it a forged document? Yes. And we have an example that was not too long ago. A few months back, a young girl in Nigeria called Mesoma from Anambra State. She rigged her papers, came out as the highest scorer in JAMB. But all it took to reveal to Nigerians that she was a fraudster was when the issuing authority of that result, in this case, the JAMB, which is the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, said, we did not issue this certificate this girl is parading. And that was it. The issues have been cleared. If the issuing authority disassociates itself from the certificate you are parading, says we don't know what document you are holding, it did not come out from us, it did not emanate from us, if an issue of forgery has been established. And so the critical question is this: the person who deposed, who made the deposition in the court in Chicago, is it the authorized person to depose or make depositions for Chicago State University? If the answer is yes, and he totally discountenanced and denied the documents Mr. Tinubu submitted to INEC, that means the issues are over. So we hope that the Chief Justice Ariwoola will live up to his words and not be swayed by any public opinion. Go straight to the law. The law is very, very clear on this. So it has been a very wonderful experience for Nigerians, this whole process, because like some of us have said, it has actually exposed the fault lines in Nigeria to the core. And it has made some people who thought, I mean, there must be a limit to rascality, to now realize that perhaps that limit we thought might be broader or lengthier than we thought. It has also told us that those who we had respected earlier, who we thought were like thin gods, who we thought were like without blemish, like they say in Igbo land, when the breeze blows, we will see the ass of the cock. It appears that this Tinubu scenario has been like the wind has blown, and Nigerians have seen several asses. And one of them is that some of the religious leaders who were held in high esteem have proven themselves to be men of clay feet. Even a Nobel laureate who was erstwhile very respected has proven himself to be an ethnic champion with the mannerisms he has adopted. And the whole idea, what has transpired so far, has shown that even in Nigeria, despite all our fault lines, there are still patriots who cut across borders, ethnic, religious, whatsoever. And it gives a lot of hope for Nigeria that what we are going through, we will come out stronger. But the onus, the ball is now in the court of our apex court, the Supreme Court. And like I said earlier, we are very grateful that the Chief Justice had made very, very clear points about not technicalities, what the law says, and the law is very, very clear. There will be a lot of things that will be happening in Nigeria in the next couple of days from our knowledge of how Nigeria works. There will be a clampdown on the media space. The media, and we can already observe and see it. Most reports on the Chicago State University fiasco is not reported in what was erstwhile known as Nigerians' mainstream print media outlets, even the electronic media. Most of them don't even report these issues. You will wonder, in a country where the president's credibility, the president's essence, the president's trajectory, his history, his antecedents has been exposed, and it's not even showing up in the media houses. What is the problem? What is the situation? And some of them are now even threatening to ban social media. And they will. In the next couple of days, it's going to be really hot for those who are outspoken, those who speak on social media, those who express opinion, those who speak the truth. The next thing I will say is that there will be some orchestrated violence. But unfortunately for them, because during the elections, they tried their very best to raise ethnic divisions, to raise religious divides, and to try to portray the last votes or the last elections as something that was based on ethnic colorations or religious divides. But In all of it, Nigerians are waxing stronger. So I will just urge Nigerians, let us remain steadfast. We are up. We are now approaching the finish line. We are now approaching the end of all these shenanigans, which has held us back. We must get it right now. And all it will take is some perseverance. The next few days, the next few weeks will be very, very tough. I can assure you that. I'm in Nigeria, it will be very tough because there will be a lot of throwbacks. They are for now trying to use, how will I put it, extreme measures of rumors, but very soon they will unleash these security details, their security forces, the DSS and all that stuff. They will come and try to begin harassing people. But we have to remain strong and resolute because that's the only way we can overcome this mess and help to salvage the image of the country. Thank you very much, and I hope that's not been a very long opening comments. Thanks.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you very much, Barrister Luce, for your elucidation. I just have two questions, and then I go to our audience to ask their questions or make their comments. One, someone argued that even if the certificate that Tinubu submitted to INEC is not or was not produced by Chicago State University, that it is not forgery because he attended the university. He got the degree that he claimed he got. And so if that document he gave to NX carries his name, states he did a certificate that he graduated from Chicago State University, and states the correct degree he earned, that it is not forgery because it is a correct representation of the facts.
Yes.
Despite the fact that the document was not issued by Chicago State University. What is the position of the law on forgery?
Well, the position is very, very clear. Even if my birth certificate, there was an omission, an error. My name is Ezekwesili Eluchie, and instead of making it Ezekwesili with an R-I, they write an L-I. It becomes Ezekwesili. And I go ahead and use a TPEX. It becomes a forgery, basically, because you have altered the original state of an official document. There is a proper process to go through to get that same thing. So you forge it when you alter an official document. Now, in this case, this is not even an official document. It's a document that is unknown to the university. It's the issue that you went through in the school, that you did all the papers, that you came out with the first class. That is not the issue. It's a very technical issue. The issue is the document you presented. Is it from the issuing authority? Like I gave the example of the lady, Mesoma, who formulated her JAMB, whatever. She did pass JAMB. She scored a very good high score. But the fact was that she mutilated, she forged a JAMB result. And for that, she has to serve the penalty according to JAMB, which is that for the next 3 years, she won't take her exams. Good. That is how these things work. It's a very technical issue. Forgery is when you alter, when you write something on a document that is not what the issuing authorities have written. But in this case, it's absolute fraud, absolute forgery, because the document itself, the totality of the document that was submitted to INEC is totally a forgery. It is not the school's production. It is not, like the registrar said, it is from a third party.
All right, our next question is
an Oluwole or whatever, like we say in Lagos, Oluwole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eluchie. And the next question is, some people also argue that the matter is now before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court does not admit is a court of law where they only decide issues of law and not issues of fact. And that these are facts that should have been pleaded at the lower court, that what is now before the Supreme Court is to decide matters of law. And so this issue of all this evidence from Chicago State University that Atiku has obtained are matters of fact, and therefore will be deemed inadmissible at the Supreme Court. What is your opinion on that?
Well, the Supreme Court in Nigeria is a court of very wide powers, extremely wide. It is a court of law. It is a court of justice and it's a court of policy. It is a court that can make up its rules as it is going on and in its efforts to attain justice for the parties concerned. And it's the ultimate court. Order 2 of the Supreme Court rules provides clearly, Order 2, I think paragraph 12, or thereabout, I'm not very sure of the figures, but I think that's it. Gives the Supreme Court powers to, at any time in the course of a proceeding, to receive whether documentary or oral evidence from the parties. All you need to do is to apply to the Supreme Court, to the panel of the Supreme Court, give reasons why you think this is so special that it must be had at that stage, even if it has not been mentioned at the lower courts. That order of the Supreme Court rules allows the Supreme Court to accept a new witness or a new document at any stage before judgment. In accepting this new document, this same Supreme Court Order 2 allows the court not even to hear the other side in the matter, but then if it feels that the justice of the case will be served, if the other side should be heard, it can now give permission to the other side to even address it on that issue. So
okay, let me read that Supreme Court rule and then ask you a question based on it. I thank you very much for looking into it. Yeah, the Supreme Court rules, Order 2, paragraph 12, subparagraph 1 to 3 states.
Yes.
A party who wishes the court to receive the evidence of witnesses, whether they were or were not called at the trial, or to order the production of any document, exhibit, or other thing connected with the proceedings, shall apply for leave on notice of motion prior to the date set down for the hearing of the appeal. Now, number 2, the application shall be supported by an affidavit of the facts on which the party relies for making it and of the nature of the evidence or the document concerned. 3, it shall not be necessary for the other party to answer the additional evidence intended to be called. So, the Supreme Court order is there in bold, black and white. However, another lawyer has argued that this may not apply in an election petition matter. What do you think?
Well, the election petition matter is still coming before the Supreme Court. And you have just read the provisions of the Supreme Court the Supreme Court orders that guide the proceedings in Supreme Court.
The reason why they say that is that the electoral act provision that everything you want to put before the tribunal must be produced within 21 days. Remember, that is why the tribunal struck off 10 witnesses of the Labour Party and took only 3, because it came after the 21-day deadline provided by the electoral act. Does that electoral act deadline also apply to the Supreme Court, or was it only before the tribunal?
The Supreme Court procedures, so whatever comes before the Supreme Court is bound under the Supreme Court procedures. It does not, the Supreme Court has wide power, like I said. It can accept any document, but those are arguments that can be brought before the court. But severally, the courts have been very, 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 very vehement on their powers, and they jealously guard it, that they have that right to hear. If the justice of the case ensures that they have that, they should hear that document, they will take it in. Now, the Supreme Court has also severally, in past cases, even one as late as 2019, one of the justices, I can't quote his name, but they were very, very emphatic on it, on the role the Supreme Court would play in ensuring that forgeries and fakes are not allowed to sneak into the politics of Nigeria. And the Supreme Court has severally held that those who bring in fake documents or produce fake documents to become rulers have no business in political office. And they have struck them out, they have removed them from office. And the examples, there's a plethora of examples where the Supreme Court has held. So we are hopeful that the Supreme Court will also, for the image of the country, for the issue of justice to be upheld, do the rightful thing in this instance.
Thank you very much. Now, let's go to our audience now. Let's enable, so you can raise up your hand, please, and we can call on you if you have a question or if you have a comment, but let's keep it brief so we end on time. I'm seeing a hand, Mr. Godson Moneke. It appears you have no audio, though. I don't know how you will speak. Dr. Ben Chukwu, please. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Barrister, and thank you, Daniel, for the opportunity. My question here is, I want to specifically ask, is there any real evidence that Bola A. Tinubu graduated? We saw documents, we saw academic results, but we also saw things that showed that there are requirements that he did not meet. Did he actually, because the barrister mentioned it, yes, that Bola, a BA Tinubu graduated. Was it actually true that there was a certificate at all that exists? That means he exited from the school in way of graduating in 1979. I want him to address that, because if he got to the third year or to the second year and had all those results, but for one reason or the other, he did not graduate, the question Dan asked won't even come in, because forgery for a certificate that don't exist at all, for someone who did not even graduate, but now decided because he has finished his lectures and everything in that university, but for one or the other did not graduate, the person now goes ahead to.
I lost you.
Mr. Luce, you can address some of the issues that we got before he dropped.
Okay. I thought it was only me that lost him. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I think, but let me preface responding to that question with this comment. For our purposes in Nigeria, whether he graduated or not is immaterial.
Sorry, my network failed.
Okay.
You got my question.
Yes, I got your question. Yes.
I was disconnected for a while. Please.
Yes. I said for our purposes in Nigeria, that he graduated or not is not really of essence to us. The most important things are, did he submit a fake or forged document certificate to INEC? And if that is the case, the consequences. But with regard from the Chicago State University's depositions, it is clear that a Bola A. Tinubu graduated, because they actually have a certificate which is in their possession, which belongs to that Bola A. Tinubu, which has not yet been collected. That is why it was still in their possession. So definitely a Bola A. Tinubu graduated from that institution, and his certificate is still in the possession of Chicago State University. Now, the issue is, if the certificate is still in possession of the Chicago State University and they brought a copy of it to the court, without any equivocations, what was submitted to INEC is a forged document. That's just the clincher, nothing more. I mean, anybody can prevaricate in any way, but that's an answer to that question. I hope that suffices, sir.
It's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think I'm seeing another hand. Mr. Franklin Ekechuku, please. Your turn.
Yeah, Dan, I want to correct certain things also in this, that the mistake being made, by or the assumption that everybody makes. Listen, in every university in the United States, when you're graduating, they must add your middle name. They must spell it fully. In this case, they say Bola A. So we don't know whether it's Adekunle. We don't know if it's Ahmed. We don't know if it's Adenike. Let's go back and ask everyone who have graduated from any school in the United States. They must spell your full. They must pronounce your full name. Your full name must be there in the university. In the certificate. I went back and I checked mine. I check my wife's name. I check everything. You see clearly that my name is Franklin Osondo Ekechukwu. They did not put O. I check my wife's name. It is Rosemary Nkemjika Okafor. They did not put N. So anybody who prays for any school, any institution in the United States must have or bear the name, their first name, their second name, and then their last name. In Bola Tinubu's certificate, everywhere you put it is Bola A. Tinubu. Now you go to the NYSC, you see Adekunle. Then you go to the initial admission, the social security number used, you see Adenike. That is one of the things that people have to emphasize on. And that's my take.
Yes, I can also concur with that. I mean, mine also has my full names. I mean, so I agree with what Frank is saying. I mean, so a lot of the reality is this: we have before us, fronting us, the President of the Federal Republic, a man who, prior to admission to that fake college, government college, Lagos. I call it fake because as at when he claimed to be in that school, the school was non-existent. Prior to that, there is no record whatsoever of Bola A. Tinubu in Nigeria. And primary school, none. Secondary school, none. I mean, the school, this same Mr. Bola Tinubu claimed he attended in Lagos, St. John's Aroloya. Lagosians know that that school never existed. I mean, and he tried, when he claimed he was in government college, Ibadan, the old boys tried to have a reception for their old student who had now become a governor, until they realized that there was no person who claimed to be his classmate. So a lot of, that's why we have to be very grateful to the team that has brought all these skeletons together, and we have now seen the ghosts. We have seen the realities. Because this is a process that started way back, over 20 years ago, with the late legal sage, Gani Fahimi, who went all the way, his own way, but thugs at the Lagos High Court smashed up his car, beat him up. And that scared him away from it because his life was at stake. But in this instance, we have a group of the party man and a group of people who were ready to take it to the United States of America to have this matter adjudicated. If that matter had been going on in Nigeria, we wouldn't have gotten this far. So we appreciate, and we must continue to appreciate those who, the Abubakar Atiku team and the PDP that went all the way for helping us to tell the world, this is not who we are. We're not fraudsters, we're not forgers. Nigerians in America are one of the highest educated people, even in England, across the world. We are hard working.
Let's take another hand. Thank you very much. Mr. Theodore, please.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah, Dan, please, I want to add another thing.
I have been raising my hand, Daniel.
I
I've been raising my hand to talk.
My name has been called. Let's be orderly, please. We all talk, but my name has been called. So
please, let me add something, sir, please. You see, I feel like Nigerians are dancing around the truth. We all know that this Bola Tinubu stole the passport of one Bola Tinubu, the real daughter of.
We don't know that. I don't know where you knew that.
We don't know that.
Let us face facts. We don't know that. I don't know that about this thing. I don't know that.
To help you in what in this assertion that you want to make.
Yes.
Yeah, please. My name is Olorogun Theodore Areki. And first of all, I concur with the last speaker about certificates. Yeah, in this part of the world, initials mean a lot. So John Smith, if he has a middle name, the middle name has to be spelled clearly because there are many John Smiths in this part of the world. So initials are not abbreviated in certificates. I agree with that. Thank you very much for bringing up that. Now, sir, barrister, we are dealing with something very, very, very serious. I'm ashamed of Nigerians. I'll tell you this because in 1991, I married my wife in Nigeria, March 31st. My wife was born in England in 1966. In 1968, her parents, after graduation, relocated back to Nigeria. And my wife never came back to the UK until I married her in Nigeria in March 1971. While I was marrying my wife, March 31st, 1991, Ekolanle Oluwale was marrying my wife in England, April 1st, 1991.
Yeah.
They dug into the ancestry website and they find names of people. And they pull out these birth certificates and whatever, all this information from the system here, because the system is lenient. And they use this certificate, birth certificates and whatever. This is what we are dealing with in Nigeria. It's not only my wife, because my mother-in-law and my father-in-law had her elder brother and my wife. That same 1991, January, my brother-in-law, who was in Ekpoma University, was marrying a Bolanle something Yoruba name in this country, in the United Kingdom. It's a serious thing we are dealing with. I think we should go back. I'm actually doing a video on this because most of the things that are supposed to be our benefit, they refuse us because they say, hold on, this has been given to that name who married my wife, Kolawole Oluwale. I have reported the matter, but this Tinubu thing has brought this to fore, and I'm going to do a video showing the website where my wife's name and the Kolawole, all the ancestral history of my wife is all there. So this is a serious thing we are dealing with, and it's a disgrace that Nigerians are looking at this and arguing on the side of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That man is a disgrace to previous Nigeria and to posterity of Nigeria. Well, so it's just a comment I want to make. I don't want to ask any question, but I just want to say this so that we know exactly the magnitude of what we are dealing with. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, let me just make a brief comment. The fact is this, that you have seen the revulsion Nigerians are showing to what is going on now. It's not only Nigerians that do ID theft. ID theft is a very, very popular scam or crime in the United States. It is very, very common, not even across the world. So let us not particularize on Nigeria, but the issue is when it occurs, what does the society do? What do the people do? And Nigerians are now showing with the vehemence they are approaching this issue that this is not who we are. So please, I understand your concerns, I understand your angst, but sir, it is not at Nigeria.
Yes, sir. Sorry,
I'm shown that is not who we are.
I'm sorry to cut in. In these other places where people do these things, these people don't run to become the presidents of those nations.
I agree.
This is the point.
Yes.
We have we have all drug pushers, we have identity thieves, we have all of them all over the world. But these people don't come out to be in the public domain. This is the point.
That is why, yes, I agree. That is why this process must be taken to its logical conclusion. And that is why I said we appreciate the comments of the Chief Justice of Nigeria that they will stick to the law, and the law is very, very clear. So we look forward to what the Supreme Court will come up with.
And here in the United States, whenever anybody commit all this fraud, they claim they are Nigeria as long as they are black. So it has a very wide implication. Even if they are Congo, Haiti, they will tell you they are Nigerian.
Yep, but they will see with the efforts we are making now that it's not going to be easy. I mean, Nigerians
okay,
are saying...
Let's have IG, please. IG, when shut on now. Thank you. Is IG still there? If he's not there, let's hear from Ifeanyi Uzochukwu, please. Oh, did I stop you from meeting? Okay, yeah, you can. Okay, sorry, you can unmute now. Okay, if
Okay,
IG, are you trying to unmute before? Fine, please wait. IG, are you there? You can unmute now if you have been trying to unmute before. Otherwise, we go to Ifeanyi Uzochukwu now. Thank you. Okay, fine, go ahead.
okay, thank you very much. I just have just one question, but before that, you know, when the presidential tribunal started, they first told us they do not want anything about technicalities and so on, that they are going to look at the matter or the face value and take their decision. And towards when we're expecting judgment, this popular slogan, all eyes on the judiciary and so on, and many people were disappointed at how it panned out. My singular question is, with all this evidence, because even the issue of 25% FCT is no longer, we're no longer talking about it. It is just about the certificate, in spite of the fact that the issue of 25% is still something that needs to be looked into, a constitutional matter. I just want to ask, for the legal minds, I'm not one, can we trust the Supreme Court to give a true verdict as it reflects the evidence on ground with regards to both constitutionality of swearing in Bola Tinubu, who did not meet the 25%, and then the issue of presentation of, even though he rightfully graduated from that university, but the evidence showing that he presented a forged certificate. Can we trust the judiciary, the Supreme Court in this matter, to deliver Nigerians from this disgrace? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us not have this mixed up. What is coming before the Supreme Court are several grounds of appeal. The issue of the 25% votes in Abuja is still there. The issue of double nomination of the APC vice presidential candidate Kashim Shettima is still there. The issue of somebody who paid a fine for offenses bordering on dishonesty and fraud. In the case of Mr. Tinubu, the $460,000 fine he paid that should ordinarily disqualify a person from contesting is still there. So all those issues are there. And in addition to those issues, some very ridiculous pronouncements made by the election tribunal, one of which is which beats all common sense. It's not even a matter of just law issue. Is the issue of the witnesses of the Labour Party candidate, which were witnesses on subpoena. Any lawyer, even the lawyer in the first year, will tell you that the witness of subpoena, his statement on oath cannot be front-loaded because he's called in while the case is on. So that issue is still there. Several issues are still before the Supreme Court. So this one of the certificate issue is because it is topical, it is current, and it is in the public domain. It's not as if it is all the other previous issues have been dealt with or discarded. No, they are all what the Supreme Court must give a ruling on when the time comes. Now, can we trust the Supreme Court of Nigeria to dispense justice in this manner? On the face of it, considering that even the current Chief Justice is not, many lawyers who are in full practice will not tell you, or a man of impeccable character. We've had a series of judgments that have come from the Supreme Court which do not meet up to the basic essence of justice. And I'll give two instances, one of which is the position of the current Senate President, Akpabio, and that of the former Senate President, Lawal. These two men clearly, under Nigerian laws, having contested for presidential elections, presidential primaries, could and should not have also contested for senatorial primaries, but in a decision that beats all sense of jurisprudence, Nigerian jurisprudence. The Supreme Court allowed these men and said they are in the Senate now on very, very dubious credentials. So based on that, can we trust this Supreme Court? The reality is this: like all Nigerians, these justices of the Supreme Court are also Nigerians. They will know they are aware of the weight their decision will have on Nigeria's image, economy, posterity, future. And despite whatever pressures that they may be under, and despite the antecedents, which like some of them have reeled out, which may not muster confidence, there is the hope. I mean, we can only hope now, because they are going to see the alternate to having this matter brought before the Supreme Court will be anarchy, and it's not the direction we hope or we are wishing for. So we have to repose confidence cautiously and continue to advocate that they do the right things. There's some kind of, the hope is further stimulated. Coincidentally, no, I'm not directly, because when the Chief Justice made the pronouncement he made, that they will not be bound by public opinion, but by the law of the land, the Constitution, there is hope that they will abide by that ruling. It is now left for Nigerians that we must continue to have all eyes on the judiciary. And we must let our system know that for every mistake, for every bad judgment, for every, there will be consequences, individually and to the Nigerian state and to the Nigerian people. There will be consequences, there will be positive and adverse, depending on how the rulings come out. And we hope that in their wisdom, the Justice of the Supreme Court will dispense justice in a manner that's above board. And that is the much we can say now. And that's one of the tests, litmus tests, will be whether the Supreme Court accepts this new evidence, which has come up from the depositions of the Chicago State University. It's going to be critical, because what they will now have to decide is this new information, is it so critical? Is it weighty enough? New information to the effect that the president forged his certificate. If the court now determines it one way or the other, Nigerians will begin to decide whether we can actually have so much trust or confidence in this. But for me, as a lawyer who's been in this business for about over 30 years, I have no other choice than to have some confidence in the system. And I hope that the confidence I and other lawyers have will not be let down. I mean, that is the most.
Thank you very much. Let's quickly call on the next speaker so that we can make progress. Thank you very much, Mr. Lucia.
You can see that the light has changed. NEPA has struck, so no light now.
Okay, let's quickly rush through the comments before we take your final response to all of them at once. At the top of my list is Hamon Alamene, and then we have Mr. Abasi Lilikano, we have Obedient, we have Adwe Simon. So let's hear from Hamon Alamene, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Hamon Alamene, just like you pronounced it. The guy who talked about the certificate with initials and all that in the US, very correct. My name is Jonathan Alamene, and it's fully spelled out in my certificate. But what I want to say here, I'm in the US for so many years. What I want to say here is, we are here today because of what Atiku undertook with his resources, his strength and everything. So what I am saying here now, a short one, that we should all rally around Atiku, because I believe he will not just let it lie after going this far. So please, let's all of us put our effort, just like I called the other presidential candidates like Peter Obi, is it Kwankwaso, so all the ones that they called, and all well-meaning Nigerians. So please, let's all rally around Atiku to make sure that justice is done. Thank you.
Well, you've made a point, but I think this, like Atiku even said in his press statement, this is Nigeria. I mean, the Nigerians are rallying around the truth. Nigerians are rallying around justice. So if we put it that way, I think it gets punchier than mentioning individuals. Now, if that justice and truth is wherever it is, so that it's cross-party, it's pan-Nigeria. That is the way it should be.
Okay. Let's hear from Mr. Abase Ilikanu, please. Mr. Abase Ilikanu. You are muted, sir. You are still muted. You are muted. Maybe it will come back later on. Let's hear from Obedient.
I've seen it. Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, what I was saying is, we have had all these legal points and all what have you, and I'm saying if anybody has contact with President Tinubu, should advise him to come out now and talk to Nigerians over this issue. He refused taking part during the election campaign, and now it's so boiling, and it has to do with the name Nigeria, not necessarily about the election or presidency, but Nigeria. Let him come out and talk to Nigerians about this issue. Let him clarify the situation. Otherwise, I would say it's an old man. He has had his part of the cake. Let him go and rest. Thank you.
We thank you, sir, for your comments. Let's also hear from Obedient.
Okay.
Obedient. All right. Adjoyisi Ogenero. Adjoyisi, are you there? Mr. Simeon Ogenero, do you want to speak? Is it me or what's going on?
You're muting them.
Okay, Mr. Martin, your turn.
Yes, sir. Just quickly, the situation in Nigeria is very disturbing. Not only to me, to a lot of people. If Nigeria is really practicing a true democracy, the House of Representatives should have set up a committee already to start an impeachment proceeding against this man, apart from the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, he has already paid them off. He gave them 70 billion naira, the judiciary 35 billion, 5 billion to the state governors. So I don't see the Supreme Court doing anything contrary from what the tribunal did. If Nigerians want their country back, they know how to take it back. Thank you.
Okay,
well,
thank you very much.
I beg to disagree. I beg to disagree with
Mr. Elucia, let's quickly take all the comments and then you give us your final comments. Mr. Franklin, Chief Franklin Kekechuku, please. Oga Franklin Kekechuku, your turn, sir. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, you can.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't know that my hands are still up. I just listened to what he's saying, but for now, I think I'll rest and let other people to speak.
All right. So, Adjoyisi Ogenere Simeon, do you still want to talk, or let's go back to our chief guest to give us his final comments? Okay, Chief Ezeluchi, your turn. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. The speaker before, Frank, had said the House of Reps should move to impeach him. I don't agree with that, because if you impeach him, it would be as if there has been a president in place. Unfortunately for Nigeria, we have a system that allows somebody to be sworn in before the election process, which includes the litigation, has completed. there was no need to have in the first instance had Bola Tinubu as president of Nigeria. It is just unfortunate that the system has allowed it. An impeachment will enshrine him as a former president. Let us hope that the Supreme Court does the needful. If they do the needful and they declare that his entire candidature was invalid, that means they'll be expunged from the record books. We don't deserve such a character ever being on the halls of any office as a former president of Nigeria, based on his antecedents, which are very, very sordid. So, on a final note, I think those who say Atiku Abubakar, if you trace the antecedents of Atiku Abubakar with regards to litigation, how he used the court system, the judiciary, to ensure that the office of the vice president was respected when he was vice president to Olusegun Obasanjo, one will appreciate his dexterity in using the justice system to attain justice. And what he's doing now should be applauded by all Nigerians, because if not for the efforts he has taken, perhaps the only person who had similar guts was Gani Fawehinmi some 20 years ago. And Mr. Tinubu has acquired so much muscle, force, authority, hoodlums. Even there is an effort under this regime to take over what they call the National Union of Road Transport Workers, which is the #1 mafia entity in Nigeria. It's like all the thugs all over, are virtually part of this. So there's there's been crisis now over that union as to who will take over. So if he had acquired that, all the thugs, both the illegal, the legal security will all be under the purview of this man. So we have to appreciate Atiku Abubakar for what he's done. But now he's done it, the job has fallen back to Nigerians. It is left to Nigerians, both at home and in diaspora, to decide what we want of our country after the Supreme Court has made its ruling. If the Supreme Court decides not to rule according to the Nigerian Constitution, it is left for Nigerians to decide what next. Because the prognosis, the way forward, if we should have a person of this tainted nature as our president, we can forget anything about development in the next 4 years. Why am I saying this? The normal sequence in international trips is that the president and his host president will address the press. Can you imagine the Nigerian president visiting the United States, any Western country where the media is free? What will happen? What questions will be asked about his Chicago certificate? Can you imagine what will happen to all Nigerians who are schooling or working abroad? They will be the entirety of their humanity will be questioned. Are you who you say you are? If your president, we're not even sure of his antecedents. So it is something that is existential. The continued existence of this regime is an existential threat to Nigeria. So whatever the Supreme Court decides, Mr. Abubakar Atiku has done his very best. He's given us the hard facts from Chicago State University. It is now left for Nigerians to decide what we want to become of our country thereafter. And I hope that Nigerians realize how beautiful and wonderful this country is, how we should all remain patriotic, and how we should rally around together, irrespective of religious, ethnic, or whatever divides, and ensure that we make sure that Nigeria attains its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. And that position is devoid of a ruler who is tainted to the extent that the present character who occupies Aso Rock, who occupies our presidential villa, Mr. Bola Tinubu has. We need to get him out of this place and move Nigeria forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Ezeluchie, for being with us tonight. It's been a very engaging 1 hour. Oh, I'm still seeing another hand. Okay, before we stop the live streaming aspect of this conversation and then have a more intimate conversation, may I call on Professor Pat Obiefle, please? What do you have to say? I think you can unmute yourself. Let me confirm that you can. Yeah, no, you can't. Okay, now you can. You can now unmute yourself, please. Prof, please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I have unmuted.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Barrister Luce, for being here. All I wanted to chip in is this. I have zero confidence, and many Nigerians do, in any of those institutions, especially the judiciary. I don't need to go by recounting what we all already know, the promises that were made and audaciously flaunted. And like with impunity, what are you going to do? So I promised, so what? I have zero confidence in this Supreme Court. Now, I don't know, since they are the be all and end all, if they decide to hand down the same shege that the tribunal handed down to Nigerians, I think, in my humble opinion, Nigerians home and abroad should start planning towards taking back our country, setting all of these vultures ablaze. If the Supreme Court even think of doing anything other than returning the right verdict. I'm dead serious about it. This is enough shame on our face. You know what they say? The thief is not shame. The mad person doesn't have shame. It is the brother or sister to the mad person that dies from shame, that suffers shame. We are the ones suffering it. Look at what is happening to nurses in UK. So what I simply wanted to chip in is this. We Nigerians, if we hate what is happening enough, if we are angry enough, we need to be ready, set to take over, to drive these vultures out of office if Supreme Court, even as much as return anything other than the expected verdict. Tinubu has absolutely no business being where he is. And if these people don't realize it, then we need to do the needful. Nobody should ever tell anybody to stand up. If you have any ounce of Nigerian blood running in your vein, to stand up and do the needful. That's all I wanted to say. No more grammar, no more pontification, no more dogotorenchi. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof.
Let me just say, the sentiments the Prof said is shared by many Nigerians. And I think the justices of Supreme Court are also aware of that, because if they do otherwise, they have now told Nigerians in very clear language that our constitution is non-existent. That our constitution is non-existent. That would be the meaning of any adverse decision, because several portions of the constitution would have been rubbished. The issue of Abuja, the issue of quality of the president, even the ground norm would have been rubbish. And when you rubbish the constitution, when you tell Nigerians that your constitution is non-existent, I have severally posited that a coup does not have to be done by only people in military uniform. Judicial pronouncements can tantamount to a coup. Executive actions can tantamount to a coup. A coup is actually when you rule a people outside of the purview of a constitution. That is in a constitutional democracy. When you take over the reins of government outside the purview of the constitution, you have done a coup. So it will now be taken if they decide in a manner that ensure that tells Nigerians that the constitution is useless. That means we are now in a lawless, unconstitutional society. And God forbid that. That is why we keep on having hope. Because when you lose hope in the constitution, you lose hope in the judiciary, the next is anarchy. And we believe that these elderly wise men who occupy the judiciary will refrain from pushing us across over the abyss into a bottomless pit. So it is a sentiment that I'm sure is sinking into them. The CJ, I keep on reminding him, Ariwola has told us that they will stick by the law. We will hold them to his words when the time comes. That said, this is what you said. You said you stick by the law. Everything is rubbish, for goodness sake, if we allow this country to go on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me also add that those who are calling on the National Assembly to start impeachment proceedings now, it has been a tradition of the National Assembly that when a matter is still going through the court system, the National Assembly will not delve into the matter. So even if they share the sentiments of Nigerians about this matter of certificate forgery, they will not even raise it on the floors of the Senate or National or the House of Representatives to discuss it, because it is still going through the judiciary. So until the Supreme Court makes their decision, then the National Assembly may, according to their tradition, decide to discuss the matter. So thank you very much, Barrister Izeluche, for being with us tonight. It's been a very engaging, more than 1 hour conversation. And the next aspect of the conversation will now be what may Nigeria